Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me today, prepare yourselves, we have the full FM team in the house. We have the United City FM Kev, we have Jebaroo, we have Callum. Everybody's here, and that means it's going to be a very, very good day. In reverse order this week, Callum. Hello, mate. How is it going?
I wasn't expecting to go first. I'm usually last in this question. This is a bit awkward because usually I react off what everyone else is saying. So I'm hoping everyone else is great because I'm also great. Thanks for asking, Rich.
Anytime, mate. Anytime. I'm glad. It's lovely to have you in. Lovely to have you back. That sounds really, really condescending, doesn't it? But yeah, thanks for making the effort.
It's clearly not true, isn't it? It's clearly not true. I can just leave now. You've become the three. With your network save and your podcast that I don't turn up to, and the audacity to act like I'm bottom of the roster when I clearly am.
I know. I'm so sorry. I've had to put you in podcast timeout, realistically speaking, because last time you were on, there was a mutiny.
Well, I mean, I would argue that mutiny has continued the whole time I've been away. I mean, we've had a variety of different hosts. Last week, you all hosted at one point. It was
we gave it a go. There's been a coup, a series of coups. I'm furious, absolutely furious.
I have had 4 messages from different people wanting to host, and I have said yes to them all. So the next few weeks are going to be interesting.
Were they all Kev and Jeb?
I can't comment.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeb, how are you, pal? How's your week been?
Yeah, been really good. I got promoted with a Slough from the National League, and Baby's been behaving really well, so we've been getting a little bit more sleep. I've got to wait. Oh, I've got confused.
You've thrown everything with the order here, Rich.
Yeah.
None of us know what's going on.
I've ruined it all.
I guess I'm fine. Go with that. Yeah, does that work? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Probably all right.
Yeah.
Should we go with?
I've got this really nice Wolves mug. It's pointless though. It says, "Jebaroo, he's a master of leverage." I've never managed. I've not even managed Wolves anymore. That'd be a really terrible gift to get somebody.
I know. What a thoughtless present to have made up and sent to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of scumbag would do that?
Yeah. I'm apparently the master of leverage. I don't know why that made any sense either. Wolves had a big takeover before I left them. Naming a stadium after me, apparently. So,
Weird. What a weird gift. What an incredibly weird gift. Kev, how are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm a bit weirded out, if I'm honest, because normally I just go first and say that I'm doing fine and let everybody else do a funny bit after me. And now I've got to come up with a funny bit and nothing's funny. So, yeah.
That was pretty funny, Kev.
Yay!
Oh,
I am a bit concerned, Rich. I am a bit concerned about the finances of the FMTPod getting us all together at the same time. How much is that costing you?
I can't say. I honestly can't say. All I'm saying, in terms of the contract negotiations, you guys get a massive payout after 5 international appearances each. So that's the big one. That is the big one. The optional future fee on all of you is about £200 million.
Nice.
So that's all I'll say. That's how you finesse the loan system in Football Manager, everybody. You just offer them all of the money.
Well, I'm going to run my contract down then.
Good.
Walk away on a free.
That'll show me.
Because I am over 30, remember?
No, none of us are. None of us are over 30. I don't know what you're talking about. Absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
I think I've got this Montserrat shit. I think if I put this on 5 times, that's 5 international caps. So.
That is how it works.
Yeah,
throughout the pod.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I know D-Boy's got this shirt as well. Me and D-Boy really hold the midfield together for Montserrat when they do play their games. Obviously, you can find them really widely and available. So there you go.
I've heard.
Look forward to my pay.
Yeah, I went Sports Direct yesterday, and it was literally just all Montserrat shirts, like just floor to ceiling.
No. They don't give them away. Only players who play for them get them. So
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I think.
Show me your passport now.
Wow.
I don't believe you.
This made my next statement all the more necessary, I feel, because as the third person in the order of how are we doing, is it not my responsibility? I'm supposed to ask him how he's doing.
That's it.
Okay, yeah. Rich, after that most recent outburst of yours just a moment ago, how are you, mate? Are you okay? Is everything all right?
No, I'm furious. I've recently been dropped from the Montserrat national team, and I couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
And now it all makes sense. It's just betrayal after betrayal, isn't it? Oh, we're going to steal your job on the podcast. Oh, we're going to steal your job as a deep line playmaker in an international football team. Is nothing sacred?
Just become a fullback, Rich. They don't have any of them, I'm sure.
Oh, I don't want to be a full. I've not got the stamina to be a fullback. They called me the Montserrat Molby. Like, you know,
if anybody wants it, it's brand new with tags, so you know you can have it. Like, just pay the fee, which is
Jeb stole it from Sports Direct,
which is
still got the tags on.
£20,000 that Rich promised me in the contract if we get 5 international caps. So you know,
He promised you 20.
Yeah.
He only promised me 10.
Okay.
He promised me a pack of Jaffa cakes. I feel like I've been really undersold here. Although I do love Jaffa cakes.
I mean, they are nice. Yeah.
I do love Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes are brilliant, but oh my God, think how many Jaffa cakes you could buy with 10 or 20 grand.
Oh, wait, that's a good point. Actually,
I won't be able to focus on the podcast now. Thanks, Rich.
The issue with Jaffa cakes as well, though, is you'll eat them all at once. And then you'll feel bad because you've eaten them all at once and you've got no Jaffa cakes left as well. So it's the worst type of treat, to be fair, I find.
It is. And it doesn't even matter how many you buy. That still happens if you buy a single sleeve, get one of those triple boxes. They all go in one sitting.
Yep.
Well, if a twin pack of Jaffa cakes in Sainsbury's is £2. So
other supermarkets are available just in case we get that sponsorship. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. We are waiting for the supermarket sponsors for the FMT.
This section of the podcast is actually brought to you for the first time by Lidl.
Oh, I like Lidl. Their bakery's great. So plenty of Jaffa cakes.
Yeah. I like that we had a conversation about this, how we need to keep it to FM a little bit more. We're now talking about supermarket bakeries.
I tried. There was supposed to talk of contract negotiations. It's you. You've all taken it off the rails, and I'll do my very best to get it back on. So, Football Manager, thoughts? Any good? No? Okay, take care. Bye, everybody. Good. Right. So, Football Manager Therapy, the podcast that we do, the first two words in that Football Manager, it's the game that we all play quite a lot of. I've had a bit of thought over the last week, and I've suggested this to the lads in the group chat in the lead up to today's record. I thought, considering we're now getting towards the end of May, we are just over halfway through the Football Manager 24 cycle. You know, it released, early November. We've all had a good 6 months of hands-on experience with this game now. I thought today would be a really, really good opportunity to talk about our favorite supermarkets. And I'm really, really glad the section has already started without me having to segue into it. And when we're finished with that, I thought we could bring it back around and we could talk about, a bit of Football Manager 24, because we've all had quite a lot of hands-on experience with the game over the last 6 months. We've all been plugging away at our different saves, doing our different bits and pieces. And we can talk about, the things that we like about the game. Everybody, the entire FM community wildly speculates about what they want for the new game in the lead up to it. And then it comes out and everyone's like, oh, the new game's amazing. And it always goes a little bit quiet. Everyone kind of gets used to it. But I think we all slip into that. Oh, this is just what it is now. And I think the excitement for the new game, in my experience, finishes a little bit faster year on year because you just get used to the new things. This is the new system. You forget about the old to get used to the current. But if we really, really stop and think about it, there's a lot of really, really good things to unpack with this game. And, I am still, I don't know how the rest of you feel about this, but I am still very, very much enjoying FM24. We sung its praises very, very loudly at the beginning of the game cycle. There was a lot of things that we wanted that were implemented into the game, like the set piece creator, for example, that everyone went, oh my God, this is amazing. We've got the set piece creator. I still really, really enjoy playing FM24. Really, really enjoy it. I mean, Callum, you were tweeting about this, this week, I think earlier this week, that you are still so excited about playing this game. I mean, is that the honeymoon period is still very, very going strongly in the Callum household?
It really is. Like I'm loving this version. I'm absolutely loving this version of the game. I think it's for all the sort of flaws that people thought of FM23, I think that a lot of it was addressed within this game. And we've talked about being a content creator and how you sort of play the game differently. This year I have played it differently. I have been playing it offline a little bit as well as online, and I just think it's a really good game. I just think it's been really fun, and in some ways it makes me anxious about FM25 because I think they've been very open about the fact that this is sort of the end of an era and they're moving into the next one, and it has very much been for me a celebration of what has been this sort of generation of FM, if you like. But yeah, I think on the whole, it's a really, really good. I mean, it does depress me slightly where you've just said we're over halfway through the game cycle, and I got promoted out of the National League 4 days ago. So to become Champions League, and that's the only save I've played as well. So I only this save, and I've just got out of non-league, so that's a bit concerning. But so I've got less than half of the game cycle to win the lot with Slough, but no, I think it's a great iteration of the game.
It's when you actually put a time on it, it seems a bit weird, doesn't it? I was thinking about this on my way home from work one day last week because with my save, I've been saying it quite a lot on stream recently. The overall objective for my save is to try and win a Champions League with Benfica. Which is, firstly, I need to actually get the Benfica job. That's going to help. I've heard good things about, managing the club you actually want to win things with. I've heard it's beneficial. And I was thinking, I was like, right, okay, well, we're in May now. So then that gives us, realistically speaking, June, July, August, September, October. So that's only 5 months I've got to do that in. And you go, God, that 5 months on the one hand seems like a very long time. But on the other hand, I'm going to have to get a wiggle on. It's a really, really, really weird one. So yeah, the passage of time is terrifying and weird. I think that's what we've taken from this. Time is an abstract concept. Kev, I mean, you're absolutely flying in your save at the moment. You have rolled in those aisles. I mean, how's your experience been, compared to where you were a year ago with previous saves in terms of homeward bound? Are you still enjoying every session of gameplay? Because there seems to be a lot more joy in Kev's life recently in terms of Football Manager results.
Yeah, no, I'm having a great time actually. I mean, we will, I'm sure, get an opportunity to talk about maybe one or two flaws in the game that we've found or don't like or whatever. But as a general rule, I think, as Callum has said, the biggest praise that I can give Sports Interactive for this version of FM is that they absolutely produced what they said they were going to produce. This is the best version of this actual style of FM that we have ever seen. It runs really well and smoothly. There's no issues in that sense at all. I think that there's a lot of smoothness in a lot of the actual match engine that is currently on show. I think that it just feels like, this is going to sound well cheesy, welcome to Cheese with Kev. It feels like home. And I think that maybe 25 won't for a little while, and that's fine. We'll see what happens with all of that. But at the moment, this just feels like home. I open it up. I know how it all kind of works. I know where everything is, mostly, although my chat still have to go, no, if you go 3 menus in and click down on the side menu and then go 2 in there, you'll find it. But it's excellent. And I'm having a really, really great time, thoroughly enjoying. I made the decision this time round very specifically that I would only play FM on my live streams because it would keep it fresh and it would keep it impactful for those. So I do not play it away from the streams, which is very different to what I've always been over the years. But because of that, I have X amount of hours in it. I've enjoyed absolutely every aspect of it. And I think FM24 is exceptional because FM23 wasn't, but FM23 was still a very good game overall. This is exceptional, I think.
So a really interesting take on it, actually, Kev, because I think it's one of the things that I think it's important to do when you're assessing a game like Football Manager. You've always got to, I suppose, contrast and compare. And I think compared to 23, I would agree with you. I think it's a significantly more enjoyable game than FM23 was. But in and of itself, FM23 wasn't a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's, when you look back at the amount of hours that people sink into all the different, versions of Football Manager year in, year out. I mean, it's actually one of my favorite times every year, just before the release of the new version, when you see all the screenshots of people's like Steam libraries, and they're like, hey, look, here's 2,000 hours I've spent on FM23. How many? Oh, I only spent 1,900 hours on FM22. Oh, but it's to spend that significant amount of time in a game year on year means at its core you are enjoying it. But I think it still is important to, I think, contrast and compare to previous versions, because again, context is everything. Context is absolutely everything. But I will agree, it feels like the smoothness of how the game runs, I think, again, and I don't know if this is one of the first years I'm playing it completely on an actual working PC. That's helpful, I find, weirdly enough. A PC that has more than 4 gig of RAM, but didn't even know it was possible. Didn't even know that was possible. Didn't know they existed. But that has been really nice. I mean, Jeb, again, you've Morecammed quite a lot recently until you've done the unspeakable thing. I mean, your experiences, are you going to agree with everybody just to be boring and say that you're also quite enjoying FM24?
No.
Good. Okay, right then.
So no, I have enjoyed it, but I was going to say that made it difficult, the game. And I think this mid-season slump that people have been having, I think everybody seems to have these slumps. I probably had one of the most spectacular ones with the 16 losses in a row, and then the next season 8 losses in a row. And I think it's trying to find a way to get past that and push on from there. So we got the promotion with Morecambe in the end, so that helped. But yeah, I think they've definitely made it more difficult. But then I say that, I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Run the Foot Market, the guy who went from FIFA to try FM for the first time. Did you see what he did in his first season with Man United?
No.
He won the Premier League and got to the Champions League final and lost out on a reasonably dodgy goal. It's just like, that's the first time somebody has ever played the game. So maybe it is too easy. I don't know, because it's with Man United. He's not really signed anyone. He signed somebody for the meme, so I'm not sure where it is on there. I've enjoyed some of the extra tweaks on there. I'm not sold on the set piece creator because near post corners are still ridiculously overpowered. Like, they are still the same. But and the set piece creator, I don't know anybody who's gone into as much detail with the set piece creator after like 3-4 months. You start off with it and you go, right, I'll set all the set pieces, and then you just go, I can just assign it to the set piece coach that you have. Obviously, in the FM23 port into FM24, there's no set piece coaches. There's 3 of them. And 2 of them are somewhere. I think they're both at Rich's club. At
the moment, yeah.
Yeah, both at Man United. Yeah,
Hooligan Smallwoods at Man City, thank you very much. He's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with me.
But yeah, and I think unfortunately FM24 suffered a little bit because they announced FM25 and everyone's like, oh, there's a shiny thing down there. I want the shiny thing now, and the shiny thing's not going to be here till November. That said, I have enjoyed playing it. Enjoyed it a lot more in the recent weeks as you start to win things. I think you do sometimes enjoy FM a lot more when you're winning. I think that's standard with all football, even Football Manager. And I think there are little nuances. I think, like Kev said, the smoothness of the actual gameplay and the smoothness of going through the game, that's been improved. Like, the optimization of the actual game has been nice. There used to be bits where you click continue, and if you'd not set your OBS up correctly, you'd just be going very slowly as you go through the menus. You go through a particularly big transfer window or something along those bits. And I think the UI is just as it is at the moment. I mean, I'd like to see an improvement on that for FM25. I'm not stealing anybody's bit later, but but no, I think. The match day experience is a lot better, and I think that helps a lot. And I think there's it's getting used to some of the rule changes as well. And I think they sometimes need to be a bit more obvious, because there was a lot of people who suffered when you made your 5 subs or you made 3 different substitution periods. It was like, why can't I make any more subs? It's broken. It's not actually broken. It's the rules. Yeah. I don't know. Who was it who did it? Was it Amazon tried to actually make a visualization of that, and everyone wondered what the hell it was, but all the FM players knew exactly what it was, because that's your free substitution period you're allowed. So, yes, that is FM24. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe.
Thank you, Jabaro Gattuso. Yeah, I think it's that actually that's something that I think maybe that's something would be helpful. Like your assistant manager in terms of your in-game support from the assistant manager, because obviously you get, if you still have that on your tablet in game, obviously it'll pop and say, oh, such and such a player has run himself into the ground. He's given everything he's got today. He probably is going to need substituting at some point. I think some kind of visual representation from your assistant manager, especially because all different rule changes, different competitions, like a little, hey, your window of opportunity to substitute players is going to run out in the 70th minute. That would prompt me to actually think a little bit more about what I was doing, especially when I'm streaming. Because I've
broke my leg. Well, I don't care. I want to make two substitutions in the 80th minute.
Yeah, sorry. And again, because I no, this is a genuine thing. I'm really, really bad for this. I think because neurodiversity, I am fixated on starting or doing things at specific times. Like I do it all the way through my working day. If I've got 2 or 3 things that I really, really need to do, and I look at my clock, I'm like, right, it's 2 minutes to 11. I'm going to start this next task at 11 o'clock. And then if I get caught at doing something else, look at my clock, it's 5 past 11. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to have to wait till 1:15 now to do this. I can't start something at this weird increment of time of the day. Oh God, no, no, you're not. If I do that, everything will explode and go on fire. That's not how this works. So I just have to give it 10. I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing, and then in 10 minutes I'll start that task again. Like if somebody's coming to me, he's got a bruised shin. He might need to come off before this gets more serious. I'm like, what? In the 66th minute? No, he waits until the 70th. Hopefully nobody will kick him really hard in the next 4 minutes. Oh, they've kicked him really hard because they could see him limping. What are the chances? So just maybe that little visual, Rich, you need to do it now. That would really, really help me. Just in life, actually, just in life, my assistant manager constantly over my shoulder. Rich, you need to do this within the next 4 minutes. Otherwise you're not going to get to do it at all.
Now you're making me feel guilty for the network save when I'm late. Like we start like 8 minutes past 8 pretty much every week.
And it kills me. It really doesn't, because often I am also late.
So Rich, what you're saying is you want one of the biggest changes in FM25 is if any of you have played Pokemon in the old games of Pokemon, when your Pokemon was almost dying, it would go bidoo 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 bidoo. So if someone's got an injury, yes, you just want the game to be like, he's injured. Yes. Take him off, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rich, Callum took it off Emma again.
I know, he's taking it off Peace again, hasn't he? He's always doing it. He's always doing it.
It's all related to it. Can I come back round to FM, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to touch on something that Kev said about the match engine. This is one of the most interesting things going into FM25, because obviously the big conversation for years and years has been around the graphics, hasn't it? And what we're actually seeing and how much better mobile games look than FM, and have you seen FIFA? And all this sort of stuff. And I think the match engine, and there's a difference between the match engine and the graphics engine. I think the match engine this year is absolutely fantastic. I think it is so good that even now I'm seeing goals. I'm like, I've never seen that goal before. Like, this is so brilliant. Like the animation, and I know they showed it in the first sort of preview videos, when the ball hits the ground, when someone shoots and it hits the ground and bounces back, is unbelievable. It's just like, oh my word, have you seen this? This is so great. And like little things like that within it. Like I had it, as I just mentioned there, I've won my first league title in May. And so it
keeps going on about it. Keeps going on about it.
I've got to talk about it, Rich. It very rarely happens. And when they won, as I'm sure you've all experienced, they had the Guard of Honor. And I was like, I've never seen this before. This is amazing. And your captain walks out, and then at the end, you're like, It was like, it's really over the top. Like if you did that before the games even started, like, you know, it was pretty. And there are little things within there that they've added which just make the world of difference, because I'm sure there's still points where you'll have it where you go, oh, we're about to concede a goal here. You've just got a feeling the highlight is going the way. It's been a bit too long in the highlight. You know, yeah, something significant's going to happen here. And then inevitably it does. But I just think the way in which things, certain passes you weren't seeing before, you know, where they're crossing from, the delivery, I think the first touch is different. I think they've just altered so much, and it's almost like, I was going to say it's subtle. I don't even think it is subtle. I think if we went back now and played FM23, you'd be like, oh no, this is just not as good. Like I think it was a really significant change. And going into FM25, with that being one of the biggest things they're doing, and I know they sort of said, oh, we will take, you know, we've begun the changes in FM24. I really hope they have. I really hope they're not going, okay, that's it. We're done now. This is the brand new engine for the game. Because I know graphically it will look quite a lot different from what they're saying. But I almost hope the actual match engine isn't that much different, because I feel like it's great at the moment.
Yeah, it is a very good match engine. It really,
I'm just hoping Nick Madden didn't have like the laptop with the entire match engine on. He's just taking it with him.
Oh, Nick, please.
Yeah. That's next year's F1 manager is going to be weird. It's like, instead of driving a car, they kick balls. It's ever so strange. And
I have faith in you. I believe in you, Verstappen.
Hamilton wants a new contract. Yeah. He's like, yeah, he could have a new one. He just has to make 5 international appearances.
George Russell was hit in the head by a water bottle by the team manager.
Right, he was wearing his helmet at the time.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
It's fine. Yeah,
bounced off.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a very, very good match engine. I've said this previously. I am very guilty of playing the match engine sometimes rather than playing the game. I think, especially. So it wasn't that long ago in terms of streaming, I made the move from extended highlights to key highlights. For years, I always played on extended. Like, to the point where when I first started doing drafts, I was like, oh God, why are we playing on key? Because that doesn't give you a proper representation of the game. But then if you played on extended highlights, the way that some people play drafts, every game would take 25 minutes. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's the way of doing it. And playing on key highlights now, I said it when I was streaming earlier in the week. There were a couple of games I was like, this highlight is going to result in a goal. Not necessarily for me, like I'm about to concede or I'm about to score. And you get the feeling at the very, very start of the highlight. But I think that is because, first of all, you get so used to watching your own team playing, you know patterns of ball movement, somebody, right, this is going to trigger a run from my midfielder, or my winger's going to cut to the byline, he's going to get the ball. And you can start to kind of figure it out a little bit the more you play, especially with your own saves. But I am very, very guilty of playing the match engine rather than necessarily playing the game. But at the same time, it's a very, very good match engine. And Callum, you're right. I still see goals scored by my teams that I haven't necessarily seen before. And I think I'm noticing that a lot more in my What's the Story save rather than network game, for example. Because in What's the Story, every club I go to, I'm setting up a new tactic. I'm setting up a new system. That's part of the remit. So I think the reason I'm seeing newer and fresher styles of goal is because I'm creating chances in different ways with every team. But that is, again, very, very well represented in the match engine. You know, it's like, right, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. The wingers, you're supposed to get down the flanks and like get to the byline and fizz it in low. Strikers and my midfielders are going to rush in, make leg runs into the box. And they do. And they're like, that's amazing because this is what I'm telling them to do. And the match engine is able to replicate that properly. Which, you know, in some versions of FM, despite what you're telling your players to do with the team instructions or the individual instructions, you don't necessarily see it as much in the game and in the highlights. You could make the compelling argument that if I put it back onto extended highlights rather than key, that would feel a little bit different. But I still think that, you know, you would notice certain passages of play, you would notice certain attacking, you would notice these things as they were happening.
Well, it's one of the key It's one of the key things, isn't it, that they suggested that they were trying to attempt when they first brought the game out, was the intelligence of players on your team to understand where they are in comparison to other players and how that works in comparison to where the ball is and what the opposition are doing. And it's all just a little bit more intelligent and connected. You're not getting three people making the same run into the same space to do the same thing, even if, you know, even if you're instructing them to. They still go, well, he's already doing it, so I'm going to do my secondary function, or however it works in the actual process of making the game, which I think is an incredible achievement in this particular match engine. You know, the amount of times recently I've seen inverted wing backs or fullbacks actually do what they're supposed to do and be where they're supposed to be and create overloads or not, or, you know, create a defensive shape that's different. I think there's still some bits that they could potentially improve on within the match engine. We're not saying that it's utterly perfect in every way, but I think those for 24, that is one of the really, really key things, is that the intelligence of players is much better. And therefore, what you're actually doing is you're working within a team structure and a team shape that actually is supposed to be, you know, filling all the lines, filling all the gaps, etc., rather than three people running into the same space. And it changes the way the ball gets passed around and what the spaces are and where the overlaps are and all sorts of other bits and pieces. And I think it's a phenomenal achievement on this particular version of the game for me.
Absolutely. I mean, Kev, I know you know, especially this kind of time 12 months ago in the FM23 days, there was still a lot of anger aimed especially at your defenders and the centre backs and some of the decision-making processes they made. And I was the same. My fullbacks, it seems like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't that long ago in terms of the grand scheme of playing a game like Football Manager, where I was just constantly furious because the fullbacks were picking up the ball out wide, dribbling forwards a couple of yards, stopping, and then just turning their back on, you know, just 180 back to the advancing players, losing the ball and then conceding goals. I can't remember. I hated it. I hated it because I used to see it all the time. But obviously, it's not. I don't think it's happened once on FM24.
Sure.
I don't think it's happened once to me, and that just goes to show the improvements in the match engine. It's a really, really nice feeling. I mean, I guess, you know, the only way you could really get rid of any of that kind of, you know, playing the match engine style of way of playing the game is to play on, you know, full 90 minutes in real time. But who's got time for that? Nobody has time for that. Nobody. Unless maybe it's a cup final and you're feeling fancy. But I don't ever feel fancy.
I forgot about the intelligence side actually until you mentioned it there, Kev, because I remember Nick Madden talking about, didn't he say like they make 2 or 3 decisions per second or something like that, and that is evident in the way that they play. And what I love, because there's so many variables to this, so you can say, okay, yeah, you know, everyone's more intelligent, but then you've then got to look at the mental attributes of a player and say, okay, well, if he's got better decision making, you know, if he's got 18 decision making or he's got 7 decision making, he might take more time to make a decision, and then it might be the wrong one still because his decision making is worse or his decision making is better, and that is, in essence, it's just a bit more real. I think that's how the match engine feels on the whole. It just feels a bit more real. And sort of talking about goals, I think why I'm seeing different goals is they might be the same sort of way the player is hitting the ball or heading the ball, but they're ending up in different parts of the net. And I remember, and I'm going to do it again, Jeb, apologies. I remember talking about FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer, where there was a long period where I used to be a FIFA player, and then I went over to Pro Evo for like a couple of seasons. I was like, this just feels more realistic. And it was purely because the ball was almost like programmed to go in certain parts of the net on FIFA. Like if you hit this shot, it was going to go in the top right corner. And if you hit this one, it was going to go in the bottom left corner. Whereas Pro Evo just felt more real in the sense of here's the net, it could go anywhere, you know. And I think this is sort of coming to FM now is, you know, there aren't these almost predetermined goals. And this sounds ridiculous because I'm talking about a simulation football game, but it just doesn't feel like, oh, this is the goal that you're going to see. It feels like it's more random depending on the player, depending on the way the ball has been delivered in, and all these variety of variables, including the attributes of the players. And it is just so much better and more well-rounded, I think, as an aspect. But I wanted to touch upon a negative as well. I don't know if have we settled on this, Jeb? Have you said what you needed to say on the match? Because I don't want to move on and then suddenly be like, oh, Jeb wanted to say something.
Wow.
Okay, so what I was going to say was something I've noticed, and I don't know whether any of you've noticed this as well. Maybe you'll notice it after I say it. Is that the impact of turning off your game and turning it back on again? Now, it's been a running joke for years on Football Manager that it punishes you for turning the game off. It genuinely punishes you for turning the game off in this game's version. I'm 100% convinced of it. And like we keep talking about Nick Madden because that was such an interesting podcast. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, absolutely go and listen to that one after this one. But he mentioned the fact that yes, actually, there is an element of a luck modifier and that was me going, hold on a second, Nick, if you just sort of let something slip here. And I feel like this year's game is ridiculous for it. I'm talking like you can be on a winning streak of 8 or 9 games. You save up and without fail, you lose the first game back, like without fail. And it's the most frustrating thing to the extent where I'm scared to turn my game off when I'm on a winning streak now. I'm like, do I just need to leave my PC on? We're in a cost of living crisis. I can't afford to do this, but it's, I don't know if have any of you noticed this as well, because I feel like this game has been worse than any other game for it.
The last 2 games, I would say, based on the FM network save, because my FM network save is very bipolar. I will go for a full week where I will be undefeated, will do really well. Next week, won't win a game. It just goes back and forth between the two. Some people put that down to the manager, though. I don't know.
But it's not, though, is it? It's not, though. That's the thing, Jeb. It's just not because you're doing the same tactic, the same things. It's just because it's gone. Oh no, you're going to be rubbish today. By the way, just enjoy your session. Off you go. It's frustrating.
Yeah, this last Monday is the perfect example of that from me, because the week before in the network save, got United back to the top of the Premier League, playing brilliantly, picking up points all over the shop, looking like a really, really, really solid team. Like, for context, I'd said before we started the season, I wasn't expecting to win the league again under any circumstances. It could happen now. It genuinely, we're in January and we're halfway through the season and I'm top of the league. So there is a chance. But those first 2 games, last Monday, lost both games, and I think I had 1 shot on target in total across both fixtures. There is no reason for that team to have played that catastrophically badly in those 2 fixtures based on the form we were going into those fixtures in. It shouldn't have happened, and that doesn't make any sense. I didn't change a huge amount of things. I just did what I always do, rotated the team, changed a few players around just for fitness, not even based on form. When I'm bringing players into my starting 11, 9 out of 10 times I'm doing it because my starting player is really, really tired. So I need to start my second striker. I'm not basing it, well, you only had 1 shot on target across those 2 games. No, because on paper, he is statistically more likely to score because he is the better footballer. But if he's knackered, in comes the new bod. So that's all I did. I didn't change the system, didn't change the tactic, didn't change any instructions, nothing. And then we went from losing the first 2 games and looking atrocious, and then we just started playing really, really well again. There was no reason for it, no rhyme or reason. And then we stayed in really, really good form for the rest of the stream. But those opening 2 games, dog water.
Can I be devil's advocate here and play the other side of it a little bit? Just because I totally agree. I think there is an issue there, and I have experienced it a number of times. I suspect what the game makers would say is something along the lines of, Rich, just because you didn't change anything doesn't mean that the opposition didn't, from what their form has been recently and what they've been doing, etc. And they could have played a way in which very simply was the right thing to do against your style of stuff that was never going to bring you a win because you didn't change and do something different yourself. Case in point in terms of real football momentarily, and it's the one that one time I'll bring it up, is that yesterday the FA Cup final played, and Man City, no word of a lie from anybody, Man City was supposed to win that game. They were supposed to. It was no way that United were going to win that. But what did Ten Hag do? He changed what he had done previously in terms of previous fixtures and matches that had been rubbish this season. And he went into a very structured style of play, gave Man City the ball, gave them no space and said, go on then. And we haven't seen that of United. They've been open and too disjointed and all that stuff all season long. So I think the game makers will suggest the reason why you've come back in and all of a sudden you're on a bit of a sticky wicket is because they did something that you didn't, and they changed something and it impacts the game. But I totally agree. I have seen it too many times. It is a thing. Every time I go back on stream and go, but yesterday we were so good. That happens several times a month, I would suggest. It's a madness.
I agree with you, Kev. And I haven't got any issues with that at all. If anything, I think that's realistic, that a manager might just work out how you play. He might have done more scouting on you, gone, right, we're ready for this game. And they play a system that directly counteracts yours. My issue with it is it's not going to happen the first time you load every time. It should happen during a winning streak. Yep. You know, if you're going to play 10 games, if on that fourth game and you've won the first 3, on the fourth game you play a team who are lower mid-table, you go, we're definitely going to win this, but actually they play 5 at the back and your team can't play against 5 at the back and they know that and they beat you. That I'm fine with that. I've got no issue with that at all. It's just this clear divide between my form shouldn't be so dramatically different, save on save, where it's got to the point now, and it's a running joke in my chat because they say I'm save scumming. But if I'm on a really bad run, I genuinely think the best thing I can do is save the game, turn it off, and turn it back on again, because it's like resetting the luck modifier. And I've done it once or twice on stream. And to be clear, this isn't me going, I've just lost 5-0, let's reload and play that game again. I've accepted the 5-0 loss, but what I do is I go, look, I was winning 10 games in a row. I've come back. I've lost the first 3 games. This is wrong. Let's start again. And it does once again affect it. And that shouldn't be a thing, in my opinion. That is something that needs to be addressed, because you should just be able to, come on and off, and that's fine. You shouldn't just have to play the game forever.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think in terms of, I think the nature in which you lose as well. So not just based on, those opening couple of games. And I think this is something that I know, Kev, you've spoken quite a lot about, especially on your streams as well. And we've brought it up in the network game as well. I think, and this is something that, again, if this is something that is readdressed in the way that FM25 works, I'd be very, very happy with. I think the nature in which you lose sometimes to the big teams or teams that have a higher reputation than you, I've been through it twice recently with the What's the Story save. Happened twice with Ajax, making it all the way through European competitions and then getting embarrassed by higher reputation teams later on into competitions. Now, I had it with Newcastle. I think 2 seasons ago, and What's the Story? I played Newcastle in, I think it was the Europa League quarter or semi-final, and I won the first leg 1-0. And then the second leg, I think it ended up something like 9-2 on aggregate, because they just took us apart. Actually, that's not true. They didn't take us apart. Newcastle didn't play particularly good football in that fixture. My Ajax side, who up until that point had been playing really, really good football all year long, were just, every single player on the pitch were terrible. The match ratings were awful. The decision-making was awful. Like, we were conceding hilariously bad goals. And, if you get beaten 4-0 by a significantly better team than you, like if you're managing a lower league club and you draw the likes of City or Arsenal or Liverpool in the FA Cup, for example, and they beat you 4 or 5-0 because they are playing significantly better football than you. They play to their strengths. They play their system. They carve you apart, and you have to go, well, you know what? Of course that's happened. It was always going to. But when they don't play the way that they play, when your team just make stupid decisions, when the goalkeeper on 2 separate occasions during the game passes the ball straight to an unmarked striker on the opposition team, there's no reason for the goalkeeper to be doing that, because it's not like the golfing class between your goalkeeper and their goalkeeper is significantly different. Your goalkeeper doesn't have ridiculously low concentration. Your goalkeeper doesn't hate big games. There's no reason for him to do it. But I'm just going to pass that ball out to Isaac, who's completely unmarked, and then he's going to score with it first touch past me. And he's going to do that twice in a single game. That doesn't make any sense. I don't feel like I've been beaten in that game because I've been outclassed by the opposition. I feel like I've been beaten in that game because, for whatever reason, my team have just made terrible decisions for 90 minutes. And that's how I don't feel like I've been beaten. I feel like I've lost. Does that make sense? Is that an appropriate way of describing that?
Yeah.
But I've noticed that quite a lot. It's happened to me repeatedly in my What's the Story save. It's happened in other fixtures as well, kind of earlier in the year. If I'm going to get beaten by one of the big clubs, that's fine. I'm not saying I'm so good at the game, I expect to win. I expect to win everything. That's not how it works. But I just want to feel like if I'm being beaten, I want to feel like I'm being beaten because the other team were better than me.
Yeah.
Not because my team were so bad.
It's my actual pet peeve of FM24. And I sometimes feel like I'm fighting against the tide in my chat. They kind of feel like sometimes they look at me and go, huh? But I don't know why, but it just feels like that to me. I often feel like it's a balance thing again. I know that players can make mistakes, they lose a concentration moment, they make an error, etc., but it happens too regularly when you come up in those big games against those big moments that my team lose it. The ability to kick a football, the ability to make clear decisions compared to the opposition just being better and showing up and demonstrating that they can outplay me and outthink my tactic or whatever. It doesn't happen. The balance isn't quite right there. But again, IRL football suggests these things do happen. It's about the regularity of them in the match engine, I think. And the part of the problem is, as a football fan, we watch our team play maybe once or twice a week. As an FM fan, we watch our teams play 7 times an hour or whatever it is, and it's just heightened in every single way. But the balance doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah, I think that's a very eloquent way of putting it. I think so. Again, we all know FN25. It's going to be, everything's going to be new, everything's going to be shiny, and if that's one of the, just readdressing that balance, I suppose, beat me because you're better than me. Don't beat me because it looks like my players just can't do the fundamental basics that they have been doing incredibly well for the rest of the season to get to that point. Just, humiliate me, but just be nice about it. Come on, you've got this. You can do it. I believe in you. I suppose on that basis, we've started talking about the FM25 side of things, because again, it's the passage of time is the passage of time. It's not going to be that long until it's on our doorsteps. Obviously, a lot of features have been announced early doors. Brand new match engine. The introduction of women's football into the game. There's lots of things that have already come out that I personally am very, very excited to get involved in early doors with that game. In terms of what FM24 does very well, and also in terms of what FM24 doesn't quite do so well, I mean, Callum, what would you like to see in FM25 that you either don't feel like you're seeing enough of in 24, or just something that you are seeing a lot of that you would just like to be improved upon?
Now, I'm going to start this by saying I think I'm different to a lot of people, because most people are talking about how openly excited, how they can't wait for FM25. FM25 scares me in a lot of ways. I'm not a fan of change. There's a reason why I have played and enjoyed every FM for the last 10, 15 years. And it's because I like the way it is. I like the way it played. I didn't dislike FM23. So on the whole, my main takeaway is, I know you're going to make it lovely. I know you're going to make big changes, but please don't change all the stuff I love about the game, because it does. And I'm sure they won't, because I do have a lot of confidence in SI, and I think the team behind it are a very good team. But yeah, so I suppose my change is a small one, and it is to do with the menus, to do with the user interface, and just making it a little bit more sparkly, changing that slightly, not necessarily changing the content of what is within it, because I think the content within it is good, but actually just, because we have played with the same menus and the same everything really for a long period of time now. So I think changes that are aesthetic, I suppose, rather than changes that I'm going to have to learn, because I feel like even now I'm not fantastic at the game. I really enjoy playing the game. I'm getting better. I'm getting better, and being on things like this podcast and listening to different podcasts and you know, watching different content and all that sort of thing does genuinely improve the way you play the game. But at its core, it's a game, and I shouldn't have to do homework around playing my favorite game. And I suppose that is, I don't want to turn on FM24 and go, this is all a bit, I don't really know what's going on here. That is my biggest sort of takeaway. But so I am excited for FM25, but please don't ruin my game. Please don't.
Yeah. I really hope that SI, they've got a list of things on a whiteboard, things that Callum likes, and week by week they're just like swiping a new one off. It's like, let's change everything. Let's make him have to learn. You know what though? It is a valid point. I mean, I think there are other series of games that I play year on year, for example, and you want the fundamental basics to be the same year on year. You know, you don't want there to be such a new learning curve and a completely new set of things to have to figure out, because that, again, it detracts from the enjoyment of one of your, essentially your favorite games. And, you know, it's so that aspect of it can be a little bit like, oh, maybe I'm not so sure. So when you play, you know, the third or fourth game in an installment of like another series of games, they're like, right, here's a very, very brief tutorial on, you know, what you need to do. You know, you've played this before. You know that this button makes somebody jump. You know that this button makes somebody shoot. You know that this button makes somebody roll. That's fine. But here's a new mechanic that we're going to introduce that goes alongside that, rather than again going, right, we've changed everything. You can't jump anymore, as it turns out. You can't. Jumping physically doesn't exist in the game. Rolling does, but it's behind a paywall, so you need to pay $16.99 for rolling DLC. And then once you've done that, again, it's going to be really, really hard for you to figure out, because you actually need 3 controllers to do it. Like, that's, you know, we don't want that. But in terms of, you know, I'm excited about new aspects of the game, but I think I agree with you, Cam. Like, the core of FM, or I think what makes FM feel like FM, I don't want that to disappear. I think that's a fair assessment.
I think the difficulty, Rich, is that if what I've just said happens, there'll be an awful lot of people who say, well, this is just the same game and it looks nicer and they haven't changed it enough. And so I think ultimately the problem is you are never going to please everyone, are you? As a game, I feel like it is getting bigger and bigger, which is really, really good. And loads of content creators have talked about the fact that FM25 could potentially be the release that then takes it to the next level. And everyone goes, oh, FM25 can rival these games that look really good, you know? And I don't know. Ultimately, I'm glad I'm not an SI, because I would really struggle with this release, I think.
Which is fair enough. I mean, I'm glad I'm not an SI, because I don't know how to make video games. So, you know, that's at least I'm honest. I'm honest. Jeb, in terms of FN25, and hey, maybe just in general, what's it going to take to make you happy?
Fullbacks to be decent. I think this was going to be a negative on FM24 and FM23. I'm not a fan of decent fullbacks still, or like a decent profile of fullback that's consistent, I'd say. There's been some that have done all right, but the consistency of fullbacks has really annoyed me in FM24. Like, I can't find a decent one, even if you spend 90 million on somebody or something crazy like that. You just still can't get past that 7. Like, you don't go above a 7. You never find somebody, a fullback with an average of like 7.4 or 7.5, or like a superstar fullback, and they exist in the world. Like, they definitely exist in the world. So it's be interesting to see where that goes with the match engine and how that develops. Like the inverted wingback, inverted fullback with new things this time around. The inverted fullback, should I say? So almost. I think everyone's example of that is always Trent, because Trent plays right back and then ends up in the midfield. It'd be interesting to see how that develops further now, like how that works, because I think will there be a bit of stuff in the positional where you have an offensive role and a defensive role, so you can almost go, right, you're going to be here. Yeah. It does say that, but I think it's more to detail it, so you can actually say, right, when we're attacking, you're playing base of the midfield. When we're defending, you need to go slot over to right back. And then you say to your centre back, when we're attacking, you're shifting over a little bit. That type of side of the tactics. And it does exist a little bit in there, but I think it needs to be a bit more obvious, and I think that's what it needs to be to people that don't understand the game as much. It needs to be, and not to confuse things as well. So it might already exist, but it's complicated to figure out how it exists. You've got to get an inverted fullback and a wide centre back, but you've got to make sure they're set on the certain roles, and if they're attacking or supporting. That would be nice to see, just to make that clearer. I'm not saying like make it an easy mode or anything like that. I think we already laughed about the menus. I think the UI is going to be exciting, but also that needs to be simple, because FM, you know what you're doing. Granted, if you're a new player, you don't know what you're doing. You're just like, what the hell's this? But if you've played it for years and years and years, and then it'll be everybody just going, what the hell's this? I don't want that. I don't know why I'm saying it that way. What the hell's this? Have I got a new catchphrase? I don't know. Right. What the hell's this? I've got to do the arm movements every single time as well for audio listeners. That's really helps you. What the hell's this? Right. But
Jeb has raised his arms.
Yes. What the hell's this? Right, I've got to stop it now. Right.
You're in a stop it, Jeb. Get out.
Yeah, no, I can't get out. I'm stuck. What the? No. All right.
Turn him off and on again. Quick.
Yeah. But yeah, on the menus, making it so it's easy to use for everybody, for old players and new players at the same time. It's going to look pretty. We know that's going to be an Unreal Engine. Also, don't make it so it's so powerful that half the people that play it now on their laptops cannot play it, or old machine and stuff. Because my PC can handle it. I'm going to guess Kev's and Rich's can handle it, because I remember you sending me the specs of what you're buying, going, oh, is this okay? Don't know about Callum's. Might fall over, might do some screaming. And yeah, so it's got to be important that you can run it and you can also stream it, particularly for creators. You don't want to be forking out £500 for a new graphics card and then you realise, oh, I can't actually put this graphics card and get a new motherboard and a new processor. Oh, God, the kids aren't getting Christmas presents this year. Which, well, they won't be from me, right? So,
mine have been terrible, so I think they're out the running at the moment as well. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I think that's what FM25. I am hoping for a beautiful, easy to use, but not too powerful game. There you go. I'm not asking for much, am I? With fullbacks that do the job.
Whoa! Let's try and be realistic.
Yeah.
Do the catchphrase. Do the catchphrase, Jeb.
What the hell's this?
That could be the name of the episode. What's the hell is this? With Jeb, just like that.
What
much better than the earlier workshopped ones, if you want
to. No. I stand by them. And again,
someone take the power off for Rich again. Take the power off.
Can't be done. It can't be done. Kev. I mean, I know we've talked about some of the our teams being beaten rather than our teams losing. Anything else that you are particularly excited about or are desperate to see in terms of November's new release?
So in terms of what they've already announced, it deals with an awful lot about what I feel is going to be exciting about FM. So we'll kind of park that one a little bit and just say, if they're upgrading the looks of it and they're still using a match engine that works really well and they're bringing in women's football into the game, it widens the experience of playing the game and it's all going to be fantastic. And I really look forward to it. I hear Callum's view very specifically about change. My perception of FM25 is that everybody has to go in thinking this is going to be different. It's going to be unique and interesting. It is also not going to be your favorite version of this new version of FM. That's going to happen in FM27. After they've taken a few of the rough edges, moved it around a bit, let it sink in, find out what works and what doesn't work across the community and stuff. So give it some space and time and they will figure it out, because look what they've just done in FM24 compared to what the game has been for the last few years. For me personally, thinking more so, less so about the actual game itself and more so as my experience of a streamer streaming the game. There is one thing that I want, and it requires a very, very quick save update. And it is very, very quick. I've been at Celtic. We started our second season. We lost the first season to Rangers by 3 points. We were close to them. I upgraded what I thought was my squad. I thought it was a better squad. And off we go into season number 2 with Celtic. For whatever reason, my tactic that was brilliant for the last season, was working well with previous clubs, stopped working completely. And I'm not just saying 1 or 2 games, it stopped. We were 15 points behind Rangers, and it was really falling apart. The thing that I want for FM25 is for my chat universally not to be able to tell me, you have to play this, because if you play this, it will work. We played it because we had to, and it worked. And I won the league on the last day of the season, coming back from 15 points, because I changed into one of the vanilla things of either a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 gegenpressy type stuff. And everybody knew that it would work. I was only playing a 4-4-2. I wasn't doing anything particularly weird, but it wasn't working, and they all knew how to fix it. Next time round, I want my 40-strong chat to have 20 different options, because they all think it will all work in exactly the same way of getting the results, because of the fact that the match engine enables that uniqueness. There is no other thing you can do at times, it feels like, other than plug in a 4-3-3 controlled possession or a 4-2-3-1 gegenpress to turn your fortune around. And that's what I want to change for FM25.
Kev, when you were, was it 15 points behind?
Yes, mate.
Yeah. Were you thinking to yourself, what the hell's this?
Well, I was, but it was in much stronger terms, Jed. That's a little bit, a little bit light-hearted for my liking. Okay. Didn't really get to the core grip of it, but yeah, I was. No, you are right. Absolutely, I was.
I think that is a very, very good point. I think that the 4-2-3-1 gegenpress is the most overpowered thing, and I think we discussed last week. Jürgen, who's over my shoulder in a candle form, he brought that to the Premier League, and then that's all everyone defaults to. Like, I'm struggling. I'll just go to a 4-2-3-1 gegenpress. Oh look, we've won a game, and it's it needs. There's different tactical systems that exist in real life that people counteract the gegenpress. As people found out many times, as other teams have found out, like same with City. City have a very weird system that they have with the 4 big centre backs at the back. It's Tony Pulis, isn't it? That's Rich's favourite person. Yeah.
And it's about getting that balance, isn't it? The simple reality of what you want from this game is you want someone like me who plays it a lot and has played this game a lot, but wants to be able to create a system and a tactical style that's a little bit unique to myself and how it fits and structures, and still be able to find a way to be competitive, or at least understand where your pros and cons in it are and make allowances for that. But you also want the bloke that comes into my chat several times a week that says, I'm brand new to this game, what do I do? And you plug in a 4-2-3-1 gegenpress and they get to grips with a little bit of how they're going. You want them to be able to use something that's going to help them. So I get those balances again, but for me personally, everybody knew how to change it. Spoiler alert, I really hated changing it because it was my tactical style that I had to kick out because all of a sudden it wasn't working. I hated it. I wanted to find a way to make it work, but we didn't. We plugged in one of the others and it completely turned my form around totally, and we won the league with it. And I don't want that to happen in FM25.
Which is fair enough. Which I think that's a fair assessment, because we all know it's one of the most overpowered things. I think McKinn's was saying it was earlier this cycle. Did some drafting. He was like, "What's the tactic?" I said, "I'm just going to put in a default 4-2-3-1 gegenpress and win," and that's what happened. It's a very, very broken way of playing the game, but it's in there, and I think it's like we've always said, there's no right or wrong way of playing Football Manager. Everyone gets out of it what they want, what they put into it, and knowing that it's there, it's an option, but it doesn't always, but if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. But you are right. The fact that it is there, there's almost like it's almost like putting in a cheat code. It's like, by the way, if you do this, you're going to start winning some games, which is, it's not the ideal way of doing it. Right. Sorry.
They had very strong views on it. Callum's dog.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Loves a Gegenpress.
Yeah.
Loves a Gegenpress.
Don't take the Gegenpress away.
don't take it away. Don't take it away. I suppose in terms of what I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing, or what I would like to change, it's just, for me, it almost, based on the fact that you guys have talked about the UIs and you've talked about, some of the tactical changes, and my feelings on it are always going to sound like they're being a bit pedantic. But for me, some of those, just again, the way that you interact with your players and with your staff, for me, it's the immersion side of things that really gets me into FM saves. And I think some of those player interactions and some of those staff interactions just frustrate me a little bit. I don't know if I've just completely broken my saves, but my scouting reports, when a lot of those are coming back, those are questionable at best. It makes me wonder what the point is. You send a scout off, you're like, right, I would like you to go and scout Brazil. Go to Brazil, come back, recommend me some, anybody between the ages of 17 and 20 who have got decent potential. Send me a report, and you're thinking they're going to come back and there's going to be dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens. And then you get your little scouting update. Oh, your scouts in Brazil, they have found one player which perfectly meets your criteria. You're like, oh, let's go find out who this is. And you click on it, and it's some lad called Kylian Mbappe, who's 29 years old and playing in France. It's like, where has my scout been? Is that a new attribute that they need to put on the scouting screen? It's like judging player ability, 20, judging
what
player
is your geography
20, basic understanding of geography, 2. Sorry, mate, thought it was... Is the Eiffel Tower not in Rio de Janeiro? I didn't realize. My mistake. Like that, to me, it's almost completely redundant. And again, when you go into your the transfer meetings, and then the first thing you're like, right, here's your expiring contract. What's next? Recommended players to transfer list. Again, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if this is something that everybody experiences. The recommended players to transfer list. And this is, for example, in our network save, it's the same 2 people at the top of the list every single time. And that is Barry Bastoni and Noni Madueke. Because according to my backroom team, 2 of the most expensive signings in my entire team, 2 of the linchpins of my team, apparently don't fit the system and the way that we play, despite me signing them both because I had a role in my team that needed improving. And I specifically signed them to play in that role. And they're both really good in those respective roles. Nah, you want to sell them, mate. You want to shift that because they're not. No, they don't fit the system at all. No, in no way, shape, or form. Barry Bastoni as a left-sided centre-back. Are you mental? What are you doing? Sell him. Go on. Sell him. It'll be fun. That, to me, doesn't make any sense. And that almost makes me not want to go into those meetings, because, again, you click through, and then it's not until in those meetings you get to the other recommended players tab. That's like Academy talks about almost like RNG earlier. That's where the RNG comes in for me. It's like, right, click on other recommended players, because it's either going to be a bunch of 33-year-old lads who are on £1.5 million in the Saudi leagues that you're just not interested in, or you're actually going to get that 17-year-old Brazilian wonder kid that hasn't popped up from that scout report from the country that they're supposed to be scouting. So like, oh, I've heard he's quite good actually, and then he's got a minimum release fee of £3.50. Yeah, all right, I'll have a go at signing him. That, to me, if that was more consistent, that would encourage me to dive into that aspect of the game a little bit more. Because again, when I'm streaming, people say, oh, have you done this in terms of your scouting or in terms of your network? Have you done this? I'm like, no, because to my mind, there's no point in doing any of those things, because I'm not going to get the information that I'm asking for when I set this up. So they're like, oh, you need to click in 3 menus into 3 menus into 3 menus into 3 menus. And you're like, I had no idea that existed, but I'm still not going to do anything about it, because I still don't trust it to not, I'm scouting Finland. Who are you recommending to me? Javi Simmons. Brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks, game. Like, if that made a bit more sense, and if that was a little bit more consistent, then that just opens up an entirely new area of the game that I don't get the most out of at the moment, that would only improve my gameplay experience and my enjoyment of the game. So if that is worked on a little bit, I would be absolutely delighted.
So when you have these staff meetings and you get these scout reports, do you look at them and think, No, I'm not going to do it again.
For the audio listeners, Jeb has not raised his arms. Lean into it, Jeb. Lean into it. That's the key. Look, I think it's fair to say that we're all in a roundabout way kind of looking forward to FM25, but at the same time, very much looking forward to the next 5 months of the FM24 game cycle. I think we're all in terms of what we're doing, in terms of the content that we're making around the game. I think we're all in quite an interesting place with it at the moment as well, because I think there's lots for everybody to look forward to at the minute. The network save. Goodness gracious me, there's all sorts going on in the network save. There's title. We're fighting in the network save for all getting places in the top 4. Which is bonkers. It's only taken us 6 years, but we're
I was. I've
well,
just got to finish the top half.
Just finish the top half, but you'll be fine. Callum's now playing league football, which is bonkers. Kev has recently become the most competent manager of Manchester United on the podcast, and he's only been there a week. Everyone's having fun. Everyone's having a good time, and long may those times continue. And by long, I mean specifically for about another 5 months, and then we could all just forget any of this ever happened and move on with our lives. But it's an exciting time. It's a very, very exciting time. I have high hopes. I am excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds. God, that's positive, wasn't it?
Look at us.
I feel like Kev. It's funny, it's like all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God. I've just done it for a minute and I'm overwhelmed. I think I need to go for a lie down. Before I go for a lie down, we should probably wrap up the podcast, because that very much felt like one to me.
Go on.
Feel about
you can do it.
Feel good about that.
Good luck, Rich.
Cheers, Callum. I appreciate that, mate. Lads, before we go, I think it's only right that we get the opportunity to tell the audience what we're going to be up to over the next week or so. So, Callum, starting with you, my friend, if people wanted to watch you on your Bill Slough journey, where would they be able to do so?
You can find me over on Callum everywhere, YouTube and Twitch. I am loving the save at the moment, genuinely. So please do come over and say hello. The YouTube side of it has been a really interesting experiment that I'm still persisting with. So yeah, if maybe you're more of a YouTube watcher, maybe you're more of a Twitch watcher, but I offer you both. Isn't that kind of me? Isn't that I spend all my evenings editing now. Everyone goes to bed. I'm like, oh, brilliant. Now I've got hours to edit. So yeah, it's a different world. But yeah, come on over, say hello, and watch all of these 3 as well, because all of these 3 are wonderful human beings.
Good.
You on about us?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
my dog, my baby, and my other dog.
Good. And your wonderful wife, Dr. Benji.
Of course.
Jeb, if the people wanted to watch you, can't understand why they would, based on some recent choices you've made. But if they feel like hurting themselves emotionally, where could they do that?
I'm not going to be on this week, so there you go.
Good.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
If you wanted to try and watch me, you'd just be there going, what the hell's this? He's not even on. Oh my word. Why am I talking like this? I don't know. Anyway, yes, twitch.tv/the United City FM is where you can find Kev every weekday, 3 till 5 p.m. Also find him on Monday evening on the network save. But there's something special happening on Monday night as well. But Rich will tell you about that shortly. Wait a minute, I'm not hosting. What the hell's this? Kev.
Yeah, what you just said.
Yeah. Kev's good. Watch Kev in the afternoons. Right, what is? Oh shit! Yeah, Monday. Hello. That's tomorrow. Oh goodness. Oh no, I've got to.
I've just built you up for it.
I know.
Should we do it again?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
The most annoying thing about this is now when I click the box when I'm uploading this week's podcast, I'm gonna have to click the explicit content box. I've just dropped the S-bomb. How many do you get? I've never sworn on the pod before. I'm terrified.
Rich. What are you doing on Monday, mate?
What am I doing on Monday? On Monday, which at the time of recording is tomorrow. If you're listening to this, the day it comes out on Patreon is today. If you're listening to this publicly, was earlier in the week. On Monday, I'm going to be streaming for anywhere, I reckon, between 14 and 16 hours. I'm starting at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, and I'm going until the wee small hours I'm doing a fundraising stream. If you've followed the podcast for a while, if you followed me for a little while, you'll know that every year I do a bit of fundraising for charity. For the last couple of years, I've done it for St. Richard's Hospice because they were incredibly kind to my family in the weeks leading up to my dad's death a couple of years ago. This year, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm raising money for a very specific cause, or actually person. My friend Bert, unfortunately, towards the end of last year, was diagnosed with motor neurons disease, which is horrible. Unfortunately, it's a terminal diagnosis. There is no cure to MND, and unfortunately, between now and when the sad thing happens in the future, physical deterioration is one of the biggest parts of motor neurons disease. Bert is not only an exceptional human being, he is also an exceptionally talented artist, graphic designer, and musician. We are currently in the process of trying to raise as much money as is physically possible to try and support Bert and give Bert the best quality of life humanly possible. But, whilst unfortunately he deteriorates physically, and that includes things like investing in an all singing, all dancing motorized wheelchair for him, so he can still get out and about and do the things that he enjoys doing, and also eye tracking technology so he can carry on making music, so he can carry on making art and graphic design, which he is incredible, all three of those things. So as part of that, I am raising money. I'm streaming for a very, very, very long time on the 27th of May, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, finishing very, very late at night, with the network save interspersed into that towards the end of the day. That'll be completely normal, because it's normally very normal after a regular day where I haven't been talking to people for about 10 hours straight before we start streaming. So I'm going to be doing that. There is going to be a link to the GoFundMe, which I've set up in the description of this episode, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or wherever you are consuming this podcast. There will be a link to the GoFundMe in the description. If you have the capacity to make a small donation, please do. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. Just tell a friend about it instead. I'm going to keep it open until, I'm going to say, I reckon Wednesday of this week. So it gives us time on the night to raise as much money as we possibly can. It gives us time for the people who are listening to this publicly on Tuesday to realize what's going on. And if they'll still have the opportunity to make a little donation if they can, I'll close it on Wednesday, and all the money that we make will be given straight over to Bert and his partner, Sean. And just that will be invested for them in the best way humanly possible. There are, just before we wrap this up, some caveats. There are going to be some goals for the stream. It's been decided that based on Kev's very, very weird proclivities when it comes to sandwiches, I will be consuming a banana and salt and vinegar crisp sandwich at some point on Monday, which sounds
yummy,
honestly terrible. I can't think of anything I would rather do less. As previously discussed, one of the suggestions has been my glorious mustache will just disappear from my face completely, and I'll look really, really weird, which I'm not looking forward to. The other thing that has been discussed, and I think this is the kind of top echelon of fundraising, it's been agreed by my wife, who was supposed to talk me out of it, who hasn't, that if we somehow manage to raise £1,000 over the course of the stream, if we raise £1,000, I'm going to be getting my first ever tattoo, and it's going to be Football Manager related. So if you want to ruin my life in that context, then please feel free to make a little donation. There have been so many suggestions from people already as to what should go on my body permanently, from sign Christian Pulisic, excellent advice. Have you tried a 4-2-3-1 Gengham press? That's another one which seems to have come up quite frequently. Or for some reason, Rich Owens is a hairy fraud. That's also been suggested by somebody more than once. So hey, if you want to make that happen, chuck a little donation on the Just Giving and laugh at my misery moving forwards. So if you have the capacity to do so, please do. Question from Jeb. Hello, Jeb.
It's not a question, it's just going to be a statement.
Statement from Jeb.
Screw it, I'm bored. £1 for every goal scored in the network game tomorrow night of our teams. In our matches, actually, let's go in our matches. I'll do matches, not just £1 for every single goal scored in the network save ecosystem, because I'll be very, very bankrupt.
Well, I have a feeling that I'm playing at least one of you tomorrow night, which means that I just might be putting my smallest outfield player in goal for that fixture. So,
and then you get a tattoo of Roy Keane. Cool.
I'm going to get a tattoo of Roy Keane. Jeb's donated £200. Imagine. There we go. So that'll be fun. Thank you. That's crazy. Right, everybody attacking, all out attack tomorrow. Everybody 43-1 game compresses. Let's make that happen. Good. So yeah, that's what's happening on Monday from me. So if you've been tuned into the stream, please do. If you have the opportunity to make a donation, please do. If you don't, that's fine. Just tell a friend. Just do that. Spread the word. Let's do that. That's my plan for Monday. And then Tuesday, I'm just going to be really tired. So that'll be good. Lovely. Wonderful. Thanks, lads. I appreciate your time. It's been lovely. Again, I say this every single time. It's just a genuine pleasure when the four of us are together. So thank you very much, fellas. I've had a lovely Sunday morning. And I hope you, the audience, have had a lovely time listening, because that's kind of the point of it. Because if it wasn't, this is weird. This is really, really weird. I've run out of words. I've gone off piste for the ending. Let's try and get it back on the track. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. We will see you on the next one. Take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye. Jeb has raised his hands.